G'day guys, MFWest here, and today we're talking about Unholy DKs in the pre-patch. Now, basically we're going to be having this pre-patch for about a month since it came out, and it's basically just a month for you to, mess about, just learn how your class kind of is played. The most important thing to take away from this pre-patch is to not judge your class entirely based on this pre-patch. We're missing Azurite traits, the scaling is going to be wonkier from 120 to 110, and yeah, just kind of use it as a way to understand how your class will play, understand how your talents will work, and just kind of get a feel for things without your legendary items. And they're all gone now. Some of them have been rebaked into your spec, but don't take it, take it as a grain of salt. Don't just judge your class entirely on, oh shit, my class sucks in the pre-patch, I'm not playing this. But honestly, this is all we have before we start leveling and get our characters to 120. So I mean, hopefully things will improve. The last day that this pre-patch has been up, it's been very buggy, guys, I'll be honest with you. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to try and just talk about our rotation and what kind of talents and the setup for Mythic Plus as well. I'll be making a separate video for PvP, guys, because I know a lot of you will be doing a lot of PvP from now until the pre-patch. In terms of World PvP and Arena, that's coming out very soon, but let's get this PvE video pumped out, guys. So alright, let's get straight into talents, guys. Talents. And here we are, guys, we're at talents. Now, I made a video discussing Unholy DK's talents before, and nothing much has changed until then. This is going to be the single target talents that we're going to be using for bosses like Garothi, Wallbreaker, Varimathras, and most bosses in Taurus, let's be honest. Right, so first row. At the moment, all serve is very buggy. Basically, I even tested it when I was in heroic dungeons and even a heroic raid, and the minute you stop attacking, it stops attacking as well. But otherwise, it's doing really good damage just because of how much it does. All serve is something we always take at the start of the expansion, and this is kind of like in the start of expansion where it's kind of like a base level for us to pick as a talent, and it just does a lot of damage. And if you sim, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been simming, all serve is simming the best. Basically, it's beating Clawing Shadows, but in all practicality, Clawing Shadows is better until this talent gets fixed. Now, remember, Blizzard did tell us about a month ago that they are reworking all serve. Whether it comes out in the next week before the expansion goes live, or the next few weeks, or it comes out in 8.1 when most other classes such as Shadow Priests and Ellie Shamans are actually getting their reworks, I'm not sure. I actually bet this will be changed in 8.1. I don't reckon they'll fix this in the next few weeks. Very unlikely, but it 100% needs to be fixed. And they actually didn't address this talent in the recent hotfixes yesterday, so sad times, boys. I would recommend taking Clawing Shadows for bosses like in raids and whatnot. Also, for single target, Ebon Fever is just doing so much damage, guys. Virulent Plague is really, really strong. Next up is this row. Doesn't really matter what you take here. Asphyxiate's okay. Soul Reaper is amazing. A lot of you might not be enjoying how much damage it's doing or just how it is, but guys, honestly, it makes the rotation a lot smoother. When you run out of runes and whatnot, it's just an amazing way to just keep your rotation flowing, and I'll discuss how to use it optimally next. Next row, you got Death Pact. It's a really strong ability. In Taurus, like, honestly, maybe on Imina, I would recommend taking Wraithwalk instead, but Death Pact can save you at clutch times. It's already saved my life a lot of the times in raid, whether it be like an unfortunate event happening where someone else pops a mine next to you and you almost die. Death Pact can keep you up, but Wraithwalk on such bosses like Imina, maybe recommend taking it. Next row is an awkward row, right? And I'm going to get to it in the rotation, but we are now using Defile or D&D in our single target rotation. Yes, we use D&D. It's basically back to the Hellfire Citadel days, but Defile is simming the best for me at the moment. Pestilence is also a good choice, but for all single target bosses, you never want to be taking Epidemic. It's one of these two, and yes, you have to weave this into your rotation, and we'll discuss it later. Last row, a lot of people have been actually trying out sims with Army of the Damned and tier 20, and in the recent hotfix yesterday, Blizzard basically kind of nerfed our tier 20. and people can't run that meme build of having Army of the Dead on a really low cooldown, because guys, Army of the Dead, like the amount of the auto attack hits that the army's doing, does so much damage. So they fixed that, and Unholy Frenzy is just the go-to talent, boys. It's really strong, especially in our opener. And Summon Gargoyle, we just don't have the stats to be running this optimally right now. I saw a few people in the logs running it, but I think they might have been using some OP trinkets to get it to work. But guys, Unholy Frenzy is the go-to. So next up, we're going to talk stats, and we're going to talk legendaries. And remember, guys, this is not a far out. I have to use this setup in the pre-patch. It's just basically a survival guide for you to enjoy Unholy the most in the pre-patch, and just get a feel for what it might be like in BFA. So let's go straight to that now. Sorry guys, I actually forgot to mention the talents for Mythic Plus. Nothing much changes at all, besides a few things. So I'm going to get to it now, but Bursting Swords is a very important talent to take with Airborne Fever for Mythic Plus. For that reason, the legendaries you're going to be using for M+, I will reiterate this again in a few minutes, but going to be Sephuz and Soul of the Deathlord, which is the other class ring that you want to be using. Those two legendaries I recommend for Mythic Plus. Unless you're in a very single target based instance, such as Upper Karazhan, then stick with Cold Heart. So with the Soul of the Deathlord, you will have both these talents, which is amazing for AoE. And otherwise, Soul Reaper is great. Death Pact is a must, I think, for M+, just to stay alive. Now this row, I think Epidemic is really, really strong. Now, on lower keys, from what I've tested, I've done about 10 keys. Less than a 15, Unholy is a bit weak, due to the fact that we can't ramp up our AoE, and we only get about 2 Epidemics on packs. But above 15, like at the 20 or 22, the ads are up long enough for us to actually do a shit ton of damage, and Epidemic is amazing, guys. So basically, it gives us something to do when D&D's down, but putting D&D down and using your runic power only on Epidemic, and then just spamming Scourge Strike or Clawing Shadows inside your D&D is going to result in so much damage. I honestly have not seen a class beat my AoE yet, besides Warrior's Burst. Warrior Burst is insane, like AoE Burst, and Demon Hunter I-Beam damage, but that's really buggy as well. But yeah, this is pretty much the Unholy Frenzy is a great thing to be popping on trash whenever you can, and of course on bosses. So yeah guys, that's pretty much the setup for M+ in terms of talents. Okay guys, stats and legendaries. First we're going to talk about stats, because then they'll make the legendaries make sense. So weirdly enough, if you have simmed your character since the pre-patch, Mastery has gone to utter shit, and it just is because of how lacking we are in haste. Haste is amazing, and Blizzard have really emphasized the amount of damage our white hits do. If you just go to a dungeon, or if you just hit the dummy, you will see how much damage your white hits are doing, and that is because of our priority in haste. So right now, if you sim your character, strength is 100% our top stat. It's not all the same for other classes, so don't listen to other classes. Sim your character and see your own stats. Every person is different. Basically though, once you hit around, how much haste do I have? Once you hit around like 26-27% haste, crit will start to trump haste. So crit and haste are basically our main stats. So if you are a Frost DK main, you're going to be laughing because you have all the perfect gear. Mastery is our worst stat, guys. It is our worst stat, and versatility is our third best stat. So keep simming your character, try and get as much haste on your character as possible, but there will come a time when you do that, that crit will just become stronger, and I cannot tell you exactly, so just sim your character. But right now, crit is actually my second best stat, but if I were to give you guys a template, I would say it's strength, haste, crit, verse, and then mastery. So yeah, all that mastery haste gear, guys, I've got so much of it, just get rid of it. It's utterly useless. And so now that you understand the stat weights, let's go talk about the legendaries. And because of how important haste is, Sephuz is now one of our very important legendaries, and proccing Sephuz is going to be an important thing for us to do, and I will talk about that just in a second. But yeah, just the haste that it gives, guys, the passive haste, and the stats on the ring are really good as well. It's just one of our biz. The shoulders are gone, no longer needed, because Dark Arbiter is absolute trash now, aka Gargoyle. It's just gone. Dark Arbiter's gone, so we're no longer using that. And obviously the chest is still doing loads of damage on some of my mythic boss pools. Cold Heart actually managed to be my top spell, so Even though we're getting rid of it in BFA, which is kind of a silly thing that actually let us use it in the pre-patch, they should disable the chest just to make us kind of get used to our rotation without it. It does a lot of damage, boys. So Cold Heart is our other legendary. So those are our top 2 legendaries, surprisingly enough. Now, in terms of your stats, in terms of your legendary, sorry, for Mythic Plus, I would, unless it's a really kind of like single target orientated dungeon, I would swap out Cold Heart for the Bursting Soul, the Class Ring, which is this one here, Soul of the Death Lord. And that basically just lets you get Bursting Swords, especially on Fortified Week. Amazing. But otherwise, Cold Heart's not that bad for Mythic Plus, but you definitely want to keep Sephuz for the trash packs and proccing it as much as you possibly can. So yeah, Soul of the Death Lord and Sephuz I would recommend for Mythic Plus. But otherwise, guys, yeah, Kill Jaden's apparently is doing pretty well as well, but it's completely up to you. So without further ado, we've gone over the talents, we've gone over the stat weights. Let's get straight into the rotation for single target, boys. Alrighty guys, the rotation now. This rotation has changed a lot since Dark Harbinger, and the most important thing to understand is using how to optimize your cooldowns. People are just using these cooldowns on as soon as they can when they come up, and some of them you actually have to hold back. First thing first, before we get into the rotation, is we've got to actually understand why we're using Sephuz. So Sephuz is great, the passive amount of stats that it gives us and its haste buff is great, but we can actually proc the effect on bosses right now in pre-patch. And the only way we can do that is using our empowered, so you empower your ghoul with Dark Transformation, and you use Pet Leap. Thanks a lot to the guys in the Deathmud Discord figuring this out. This is the only way you can proc your Sephuz, is the empowered Pet Leap. So basically this is what it is. So you empower your ghoul with this using Dark Transformation, and then you just leap into the target, and that procs Sephuz, as you can see over here. It's like a 23% haste buff for 8 seconds, which is results in a great kind of damage window for us to pop wounds and regenerate our resources. So it's important that you guys are doing this as much as you can on bosses, even on single target bosses. Even in dungeons you can pop it. That's how you can use it on any type of boss. So now the important thing is, say for example we're on this, we're in range of this boss, right? We're in melee range, our pet's also in melee range. You have to use the move to command to move your pet away, then you want to use Dark Transformation and then leap. Every time you have Dark Transformation up, your leap will be up. So you have to keep using them in conjunction like that to proc the Sephuz. If you really want to take advantage of how to do the most damage in pre-patch, that's what you want to do, guys. We're not going to be using Sephuz in BFA, so this is just the pre-patch, but for those of you that want to really push your class and spec, yeah, I know if you want to beat your mates or just, you know, push to the limit, do the most amount of damage that you possibly can, I recommend doing that with Sephuz. If you don't want to, it's cool. I will still discuss the rotation now. Now, a lot of people have been discussing like the optimal rotation, and there's loads of different ones. I'm going to give you mine and see if it's okay, but I would definitely recommend checking out the Deathmud Discord, people that are actually theory crafting the correct rotation. But basically, I Army of the Dead at around 5 seconds. About like 1 second I pre-pot, and then I'm going to empower my ghoul and make him leap into the boss to proc my Sephuz. As I'm running into the boss, use Outbreak followed by Chains of Ice with the Cold Heart ability, guys. And then as I reach the boss, Unholy Frenzy, which will start basically putting him into a killing frenzy. You need to stay in auto attack range of the boss, okay? And you have it for 12 seconds. Now while that's running, you press Festering Strike once, and as you auto attack, you will get a wound on the target, so it's automatically going to go to 4. As soon as you hit 4 wounds, you're going to Apocalypse, and you've just done basically the opening window. Now after I Apocalypse, I normally put down D&D. Now remember what I said, we're going to be using D&D in our rotation, and once D&D's down, if you're taking Pestilence, you have a 10% chance to get a wound on the target, which is great. It's like an extra wound. Or Defile. Honestly, both are very, if you look at the Sims, both are doing really great. Defile's just a little bit better, but honestly, who cares? Defile is just, it makes sense to use Defile, right? So put your Defile down. And then you're into the basic rotation, guys, like the EN rotation. Not overcapping on your runic power, making sure that the boss or the target always has more than 1 wound. So basically on like 1 wound, you want to Festering Strike. And yeah, not to overcap on your wounds, guys. Like all this like nitty gritty stuff is going to result in more or less DPS for you guys. And an important thing now I'm going to discuss is Soul Reaper, and I want to thank So from the Death Knight Discord for understanding how to actually use this efficiently. So Soul Reaper, guys, is not something you use on cooldown. You should be using it to regenerate your resources, and it's important that you don't just burn it on cooldown, because there will come a time in the fight, trust me, I've done a lot of bosses since the pre-patch, that you're going to be pretty starved. Like, you're going to have no runes, you're going to be having no sudden doom procs, and you want to press death coil but you can't. So yeah, it's very important that once you reach this stage, like, it'll come, trust me, after the opener, quite soon it will come where you have no runes available. That is when you want to use Soul Rip, because it's going to generate 2 runes for you straight away. And it is a sweet damage. It's some pretty decent damage. Like, what does this say? 2,500 over 8 seconds. It's alright, but it's not about the damage. It's about getting your runes back. So that's why we're using Soul Ripper right now. And trust me, it makes the rotation a lot more fluid, guys. It's really, really nice. So without further ado, guys, I know there are different types of learners. There's auditory learners, and there are people that are visual learners that need to see the rotation. So I'm going to show you guys the rotation right now. Let's get into it. Alrighty, guys, we're going to do a DBM pull timer. I've pre-recorded this, so I'm just going to give you guys my commentary and slow it down so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. I normally have a spell tracker so I can show what I'm doing, but for some reason it's bugged and not working. So I'm either dead at 5 seconds, guys, and I'm going to prolong power at 1, followed by Dark Transformation, leap into the boss, which procs my Sephuz, then Chains of Ice, and I'm going to pop Unholy Frenzy, followed by 1 Festering Strike. As you can see there, Unholy Frenzy, wait for the GCD, rip. Festering Strike into Unholy Frenzy and wait, actually, and then Apocalypse, and then I'm going to put down my D&D and start spending my Death Coils. So that's the rotation, and it is very weird to do. It will take you a fair few amount of pulls to get used to, just like the muscle memory of things. And from there on in, guys, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like not capping on your runic power and making sure that your wounds do not fall off the target. And now just watch how I'm holding my Soul Reaper here. There's going to come a time where I'm out of runes and I'm going to use it. So you're going to see here, right now I've only got 2 runes left, 1 rune left. It's getting a bit awkward here. And a Festering Strike, and now I'm off my runes here. Runes are about to come back up, but here I'm pretty much going to use it, I reckon. Yep. So I've only got 3 seconds left for runes to pop, and I use it there. So it's a great way to keep your rotation flowing. Otherwise, you do end up with a lot of downtime. Now watch, guys, my Dark Transformation is coming back up. Watch what I'm going to do with my pet here. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to move him over there. Look at the bottom left hand side of the screen. Move him over there and power him and leap back in to get that Sephuz proc. If you really want to push your DPS in this pre-patch, I recommend you do the same. But just remember, this is not going to be a thing in BFA. This is just for the pre-patch. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the rotation. At the moment, if any of you are curious, I'm only simming at 5.7k due to the fact that I have horrible stats. Like, I have way too much mastery on my character and I need more crit and haste. But guess what? I actually vended all my crit and haste gear because I thought mastery would reign all the way through to BFA. But yeah. So that's pretty much going to be the rotation, guys. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. That's going to wrap it up. Let me know how you feel Unholy is doing in the pre-patch, and like I said before, take it as a grain of salt, but this playstyle is how Unholy is going to be in BFA. Don't look at the numbers because they're extremely buggy due to some trinkets being OP and this classes being overtuned, but look at the spec, its playstyle, and ask yourself if you would actually enjoy this. And honestly, guys, I am very, very excited for Unholy Death Knights, especially with our Azurite traits that we're going to receive at 120. I am extremely keen to play the spec, and I'll be giving you content for that as soon as BFA comes out. But let me know down in the comments what you think of Unholy, how do you think it's panning out, and please follow me on social media at Facebook and Twitter. You can find me at MFWest WoW, and I am going to stream this week. I will make some updates on those social media platforms about when I'll be streaming. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Give the video a thumbs up and click the bell so you know when more videos like this are coming. Thank you very much, guys. Unholy for the win. Peace.